Hello everybody, it's day 3 of Maker Advent Calendar. And I have my assistant, Jamie.
Hello. Hello, welcome back everybody.
Okay, so do you want to open the box?
Sure, let's see what we have inside this box number 3.
Okay.
Alright, what do you have in here? Let's see.
Okay. So we have some more, not sure.
Alright, you can open the bag, I'll tell you what you have.
Oh.
Dump it out, let's see what we got there.
Okay.
Another little breadboard.
Another one. Oh.
Ooh, what do we have there? Are those buttons or something? Wow, so what do we have? Let's see, we got some more wires. And we've got another breadboard. And we've got, how many switches do you see there?
1, 2, 3.
3 switches, alright.
And then a million of these.
Okay, a bunch of little DuPont jumpers. Alright, so I'm going to overlay a graphic and we're going to probably start building it, but it's going to be fast forwarded, okay? Here we go, folks. We're going to match this drawing that I'm going to put up, and then we're going to go from there in just a minute to see what we're going to do with today's code. So this is what things look like when we were finished. Looks a little rough, but we did match that drawing up. And if you happen to also notice near the end there, even though it was sped up, the little hand stopped appearing as much as it did at the beginning. And our little elf here is super duper tired. And through the rest of this, it'll just be me, and I'll try to roll us through some examples to show you how this goes, and we'll have to catch her up later. Okay, so as you can see, we had those pins wired up. I'm going to try this first piece of example code from the page for today, from the instructions that go along with it. Let's see what we get here. Okay, so you can see that our button is just making that go right there. See how that's incrementing? As I click this button, that's just catching it and it's printing it out. So I guess this is gonna be 1, 2, and 3 right here. So now I'm going to put a little bit of code in here. This is going to loop forever, and it's just going to tell us if 1, 2, or 3 are pulled down. So we're going to put that code in here. Example code. See there? Let's switch back over to this. So let's push this. All right, so now let's see. 1's pressed, see that? I'm going to press 2, see it sees that's pressed. I'm going to press 3. So it knows 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. So that's working as expected, I believe. So we're going to look at the else if statement on this one. If your first statement isn't true, your code will then check each of those else ifs to see if any of those are true. If one of the else if statement triggers, it will run the code block for that statement only and then stop checking the others in the loop. So we're going to try this code. You can see that this is doing the same thing as the previous code, but let's look at how it's working. It's using this else if statement, right? See there, it's a little bit different than the previous code there. I'll overlay that so you can compare them, but the results are the same. So now it's constantly polling. See how this is working? This is just scrolling all the time. But if I'm holding this down, it'll just say button 1's pressed, and then it's back to nothing. If I hold this down, button 2 is pressed. See how that works? All right, so I'm going to switch and look at the top down here, and you'll see what this code is doing right here. So the default state is this light right here being on. this third one, right? And if I do that and hold it down, the middle one lights up. If I do the second one or the third one by themselves, nothing's changing, right? But if I hold down that one, the middle one. Now watch, if I hold down both 1 and 2 here, the first one lights up. So that's what this logic is doing. It's just showing us an example of how that would work like that, for whether it's lights or some other scenario. So if I hold 2 buttons down, that one lights up. No buttons, that one lights up. Just the first one by itself, the middle one lights up there. So that's what this code's doing. Right, so now it's going to use some OR stuff. Right, so now we've got this. This is supposed to just use some OR. So if 1 or 2 are pressed, either or, the LED will light up. It says green LED, but whatever the one's in that right position on that pin. We're going to light up what's on pin 20. So let's put this code to it. All right, so that's that one. Oh, and then it goes back after a second. Let's switch to the bench only here, and I'll show you what I'm doing here with this code. So if I press this one, that'll light up and it'll go off like that. If I press that one, it'll light up and it goes off. If I press this one, nothing happens, because the code was only looking at this one. It just momentarily stays on, and it goes back away. All right, so now we're going to go back into the code. We're going to add in something to also let that same thing happen when we use button 3. So what all do we think we need to do there? And if you have not figured out by now, it is just Jamie here now. The little kid is pretty tired. They have had multiple ballet things for the Nutcracker and choir and school and all that, and they just tuckered out. So we're going to proceed here, and we may or may not see my elf assistant for the rest of this particular episode, but we're gonna go through here and still hash with some of this code and look at what we did. She did help with running some of these wires and hooking some of these switches up though, so I appreciate that. She's a trooper. So we're gonna I'm just gonna grab this, right? Copy. Put this down here. That. I'm gonna change that to, this little Pi 400 is messing with me. Change that to 3. Change this to button 3, right? And now we also need to come down here and look at, add another little statement here. So button value is 1 or button value 2. And that, let's see, equals, okay, so that colon's supposed to be at the end, right? So I'm gonna just grab this. I'm just gonna grab this one. I guess you could put it anywhere, but let's just keep them in order. So I'm just going to grab this whole OR up, but just before that, copy that, stick it here, put a space in, we're going to paste that. I'm going to change this to 3. Now it should also take into account, let's bring this to it. We'll see. Or 2 is oh, you know what? I need to change this to right here too. Hold on. 1, 2, or 3 was pressed. Oh yeah, and so I see that this is where the timing comes in. I'm silly. I was looking at this because yeah, it turns it on, sleeps for 2 seconds, then turns it off. I'm a dummy. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, so now let's run that again. Oop, did I not push it to it? Let's push it to it. Okay, now let's do it. Now I should say 1, 2, or 3, and that was the first one. That was the second one. And that was the third one. All right, so now I'm going to show you on the camera just so you can see also. All right, so I'm pressing 1. You see it stays on for 2 and goes away. Stays on for 2, goes away. And now the third one stays on for 2 and goes away. So we understand a little bit how that works. So now let's switch back. All right, so I think we're going to look at, toggling here. Okay, so what this is doing, this next little part of the code is toggling. And instead of like, before where we pressed it and it either was on as long as we held the button down, or we pressed it and it lit up for a second and then turned off. Now we're going to look at the code where if you press a button, it stays on until you press it again. So that's like a toggle mode here. And that's what this code is doing. So we're going to do button 1 does 18. So let's try this code and see what this does. Okay, so that's there. All right, so that works and it stays on. So let's look at that. I'll show you again. Let me turn it off. All right, so let me go back to the bench. Okay. So you see here, oop, did I not catch it? All right, see how that's on there? So it's on, it'll stay on until I press it again. I'm gonna press it again, it'll go off. See there? And then it says, can you modify this code so it does the same thing with the other lights with the other buttons? So let's see there. So we'll go to 2 and we will switch over here and look at that real quick. Okay, so now I want to add these other buttons in. So we're going to switch back to the 400 and I've got some notes here. So let's look. First one, I'm going to add these in. I got these notes. We're going to do button 2 and 3 right here. I want to add my LED other information there to get those guys in there. So need to add the amber and green. And these may not be in the right positions, but you should see that I've got 3 different LEDs lighting up. I will need to get somebody better with colors to verify we can move those around. Or I can change the definition of the pins, I guess, but then, you know, I don't know. Anyway, all right, so now we got to look. This is going to loop forever, so it's going to have a, okay, if button value equals 1, button 1 is pressed. Print button 1 is pressed and red toggle, right? So we're going to grab this and we're just going to basically duplicate it again here. But I probably want to not indent that. Let's go back there. Let's say button 2. Then I want to do, I guess, amber. We'll see. I might have to change these around if I want to do 3 different ones. Let's see, amber. Okay. And then let's do one for 3 doing green. Copy. Change this to 3. Change this to 3. Change this to 3. And we're going to change this to green. Alright, so now we're going to send this to it and see if each button toggles a different LED off and on. So let's push this to it and see what we get. Alright, let's look at our buttons here. It knows that was pressed, it knows 2 was pressed, it knows 3 was pressed. It doesn't like having them all on at the same time, I don't think. Yeah, I got them kind of out of order here, but the color or whatever, you'll see though that it works, and I'm not worried about that right now. So watch this. I want to switch over to the bench again. So watch this. I got that toggles that one. Okay, so that one toggles that one on. It toggles it back off here. Okay. And that one toggles that one on, right? So that one's that one. That one's that one. And that one's that one. So I've got 3 different buttons that toggle 3 different LEDs off and on. So that's how that's supposed to work. So that's what we've learned today. We've looked at 3 different ways to deal with how we select and loop through code. And like this loop is like a loop forever, like it's a while true again, right? That is what this code is again, if you want to look at it. Switch back over here. Not much to it. We just import pin, we import time. And then we define our buttons 1, 2, and 3 and what pins those are in, and we're using the internal pull down. And we define our 3 LEDs. And then this loop here is a while true, which, like it says in the comment there, it loops forever. And then it's just going to have a short little delay as it goes around. And if the button once pressed, it changes, it flips it. You know, whatever state it is, it's going to flip it around. This particular LED that we've defined. Same thing with 2 and 3. That's what this does. Hey, so like I said, my little elf helper got pretty tired. They've had a full long day and a full crazy last few days. So they kind of conked out on me. We're going to get the little helper caught back up on what we've done today. But just to recap, basically what we've done is we've added this other breadboard and these 3 switches, and we went over a few different ways and ways to think about applying that logic. We talked about if statements and else if and or and physical inputs and physical outputs. We're going to leave this like it is because we're going to be adding on to it the next time. So today is, today is December 5th. So we'll be seeing you guys again for the 4th day of Maker Advent, but that will be on December 7th. Thanks for hanging out with us today, and we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.